May 24th, 1940. Dawn breaks quietly over the rolling fields of Flanders. The air is cool and still, carrying the faint metallic scent of dew on grass. Inside the modest headquarters at Brucourt, Adolf Hitler sits alone at a heavy oak table, its surface crowded with maps stained by sweat and coffee rings. The room is hushed, save for the distant rumble of trucks outside. The weight of the moment presses on him, a moment he has dreamed of for years. Yet as he studies the map, his expression is not one of jubilation, but of deep, almost uneasy contemplation. 17 days ago, the German war machine began its stunning blitzkrieg through France. The Ardennes, long considered a military dead zone, was breached in a daring maneuver that left French and British generals stunned. Now the Allied armies are in disarray. To the east, French divisions melt away. To the west, the British Expeditionary Force is corralled along the coast, trapped at Dunkirk by the North Sea. Nearly 300,000 men, doctors, clerks, seasoned soldiers, wait for rescue that may never come. Hitler leans over the map, tracing the arc of his advancing panzers with a trembling finger. His generals gather at the threshold, watching him with a mixture of awe and anxiety. General Franz Halder, the army's chief of staff, stands rigid, his posture betraying the tension churning beneath his disciplined exterior. He has spent his life preparing for this war, and now it is unfolding faster and more violently than anyone imagined. Hitler speaks softly, almost to himself. 17 days. In the last war, it took 4 years just to reach this point. He pauses, lost in memory. The mud of Ypres, the wailing of wounded men, the bitter cold that seeped into bones and hope alike. He does not want to repeat those horrors, not for Germany, and certainly not for his own troops. General Guderian, the architect of the armored spearhead, steps forward. His uniform is streaked with dust, his face drawn but eyes burning with ambition. "Your Excellency, the British are beaten. We can end this now. Let the panzers finish the job. The roads are clear. We can close the ring and destroy them." But Hitler raises a hand, silencing him. He looks away from the map, eyes clouded. "And what of the mud? The last thing we need is our tanks bogged down like in Flanders 1914. His voice is a whisper, but it carries the weight of a command. Goering, resplendent in his tailored uniform, interjects with a smirk. "Mein Führer, the Luftwaffe can do what the army cannot. My Stukas can turn that beach into a graveyard. The British will have no place to run, nowhere to hide." But Hitler's gaze is fixed on the window, where rain begins to patter against the glass. He remembers the stories from the trenches, the way rain turned earth into a nightmare of suffocating mud. He remembers the despair. He is not ready to drown another generation in that same mire. He turns back to his generals. "The armored divisions will halt here, for now. We wait." Shock ripples through the room. Guderian's jaw tightens. Halder scribbles furiously in his notebook, struggling to conceal his dismay. But Hitler's word is final. Outside, the world is in chaos, but inside the headquarters, time seems to hang suspended. Hitler's decision will echo far beyond these walls. He stares at the map one last time, as if willing the future to change. On the beaches of Dunkirk, the atmosphere is thick with dread. Men huddled together in the gray light, their uniforms caked with salt and sweat. The air is filled with the acrid tang of burning fuel and the constant drone of German aircraft overhead. The officers try to keep calm, but their voices waver. Rumors swirl. Some say the Navy is coming, others that they have been abandoned. Meanwhile, in London, Winston Churchill paces the cabinet rooms beneath the battered streets of Westminster. The weight of the nation rests on his shoulders. Around him, ministers argue in hushed tones. He summons the Admiralty and issues an extraordinary order, as every available vessel is to report to duty. Not just warships, but trawlers, yachts, ferries, anything that floats. The call goes out across the land. Fishermen leave their nets, civilians abandon their homes, and teenagers barely out of school volunteer to man the decks. The nation is transforming itself into a fleet.
On the Channel, the sea is restless. Small boats, braving mines and German patrols, slip through the fog. Among them is the Moonlight, a private yacht captained by Charles Lightoller, a survivor of the Titanic, now risking everything for strangers. On board, the crew works in silence, each man aware that a single bomb could end their journey. They see the fires on the horizon, the dark silhouettes of desperate men along the shore. Back in Hitler's headquarters, the days tick by. Goering returns daily with reports of the Luftwaffe's growing success, but the numbers tell a different story. The British are evacuating faster than the planes can destroy them. Hitler's confidence wavers. He listens to Guderian's urgent pleas to let the tanks advance, but the memory of past disasters haunts him. He cannot bear to see his men lost in the mud, their victory turning to ruin. In the villages around Dunkirk, German soldiers watch the beaches with a mixture of triumph and unease. Some are young conscripts, barely older than the men they are supposed to be defeating. They trade cigarettes with British prisoners, hear snippets of English, and realize these are not faceless enemies, but ordinary men, just like them. In the ruins of Kassel, a small group of British soldiers makes a last stand. Surrounded and outgunned, they fight with bayonets and grenades, buying time that may save thousands. Days become a blur of smoke, noise, and fear. May 27th, 28th, 29th. Each dawn brings new columns of men boarding rickety ships. Each night brings more bombs. The RAF fights above, straining against the Luftwaffe, and the weather shifts, clouds rolling in to shield the fleeing soldiers from the eyes of the enemy. Finally, on June 4th, the last boats pull away from the shore. Over 338,000 men have escaped. The beaches are littered with abandoned equipment and the ghosts of what might have been. Hitler watches the newsreels in his private office, his face a mask of suppressed rage and regret. The British army is gone, but so is the chance to end the war swiftly. In the months that follow, Hitler tells himself and others that he spared the British out of calculation to lure them into peace. But in the silent hours of the night, he knows the truth. He let them go out of fear, out of uncertainty, out of the haunting memory of mud and blood from another war. Years later, as bombs fall on Berlin and the end draws near, Hitler sits alone in his bunker, gazing at a model of Dunkirk on his desk. He tells Albert Speer that if he had ordered the attack, the war might have ended differently, but history had already slipped from his grasp. Those 48 hours at Dunkirk became a turning point. The little ships of England, the battered soldiers, the hesitant hand of a dictator, each played a part in the survival of a nation. The men who escaped would return, not as defeated refugees, but as liberators, and the world would never be the same.